What up, Wastelanders? Christopher here at Gaslands NorCal. Thanks for joining me once again for another conversion video. Now, you know me, you know my go-to paint is always Monument Hobbies Pro Acrylic. Except if I'm doing minis or some bolt action, maybe some Conflict 47, I do like me some speed paint. Now, a little while ago, I came into possession of some Vallejo Xpress color, thanks Adam, which, if I understand right, is their answer to the Army Speed Painter. So that's what we're going to do this time. I always like a good head-to-head, so we're going to take these 71 Plymouth GTX vehicles, bolt the same, strip them the same, prime them the same, but when we base coat them, I'm going to use Army Speed Painter and put it up head-to-head against the Vallejo Xpress color. Now, for these two colors, we're going to be using the Army Speed Painter Magic Blue and see how that fares against the Vallejo Xpress color Intense Serif Red. See how those turned out. So, first things first, you know what we got to do. We got to get these babies apart, get everyone in the stripper. Alright, so we're all primed up and ready to go. Got the Vallejo Xpress color on this side, and got the Army Speed Paint on this side. Now, one of the many things that these two paints have in common, which really a lot of paints have in common, is you need to shake them up really, really well. And granted, a lot of paints you need to shake well, and everything else going to be mixed up, but that's definitely the case with the speed paints, whether they're the Xpress color or the Army Painter. Just like with the Dirty Down Rust, make sure it's shooken up really, 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 really well. So let's get everything shaken up, and then we're going to use an airbrush to apply these paints. And I'll make sure that my airbrush is cleaned in between these two so we don't have any cross-contamination. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm cleaning my airbrush is first I will douse it with the airbrush thinner, which, you know, it's supposed to be for when you're thinning out your paints, but I like it to kind of loosen up all the paint particles and everything else inside the airbrush. Run it through a few times, get everything kind of loosened up and get ready to get cleaned out, and then I run it through with the airbrush cleaner and clean it out that way as well. Make sure everything's dried off and whatnot, so that's how I'm going to clean it out in between these two paints. But yeah, so let's get these things all painted up. For the shaker, if you don't have one of the paint shakers, or do it by hand, or put it on your power drill, or attach it to your old car, there are so many different ways to make sure they're shaken up that you don't have to do it by hand and get like carpal tunnel or repetitive motion in your shoulder. Hopefully you don't have that anyway. So yeah, let's get these things shaken up, applied, cleaned in between, and then we'll see where we're at and what we need to do next. But yeah, let's get some red and blue. Alright, so first impressions. The Xpress color went on a lot smoother than the speed paint did. The speed paint really kind of was a lot more fluid, came out a lot faster. I'm not sure if you can see, there's a lot, there's several more darker spots. So yeah, I would say Vallejo is coming out in front as it stands right now. Maybe because the speed paint, there's just a different chemical mixture, the pigments or whatever. I'm not a chemist, I don't know.
Damn it, man, I'm a doctor, not a physicist.
Or whatever you want to do. But as it stands right now, Xpress color is looking a little bit better than the speed paint is. Next, I'm going to do a couple different things. I'm going to first do a stripe on each one of these with the MIG light rust. I use this for my yellow. I really like it, especially coming through an airbrush. I'm going to go right down the middle, and I'm doing this to test out what the bleed through is going to be for both of these, to see if any of the undercoat, like the blue or the red on this, will bleed through the yellow. And then I'm going to wait for that to dry, and I'm going to swap these two. I'm going to do a blue stripe over the yellow on the red, and a red stripe on the blue over the yellow, to see if it's going to bleed through that way. So let's get some yellow stripes on there, and then we will swap the color and do a alternate stripe for each one of these to see how that affects it. But yeah, so far Vallejo is coming in a little bit ahead of the Army Speed Painter, at least for doing a base coat. So let's do our next test. Alright, so we're all painted up, and let me kind of explain how things went. Now this is obviously the blue one that we did with the speed paint, and then did the yellow MIG light rust stripe, and then the red Express Vallejo stripe. Now, just like when I did the vehicle before, the red was a lot less fluid, easier to control, everything else, and so it kind of went on. I wasn't trying to get an exact perfect straight line, but you can see there's not a lot of spray off the sides. Now the blue, this one being the red with the yellow and the blue on it, you can see the blue was a lot more fluid, so when I was spraying, the force of the air coming out of the airbrush pushed everything out. It's a cool effect like this, not kind of, you know, obviously what I intended or what I wasn't really looking for anything, but just to see, you know, how it would go. But still, just like when I did the base paint for the vehicle, it was very, very fluid, hard to control, came out very liquidy, so it made this cool kind of tendril looking thing, which if you can do it and control it, that would be kind of a cool pattern and everything, but not exactly what I was going for, but still, it looks pretty cool. So now, since we're done with the paint project, experiment, whatever, now we're just gonna get these things together and do our normal stuff. I've got everything kind of laid out and ready to go. Got some cool tanks that I got from Fallout Hobbies. These front pieces with the spikes on them, this is for some of their mechs, like armored suits that they have. These are like the hand pieces that go on the front, like the, you know, spikes on the front. These things work great. Sticking on the front of a vehicle is kind of a ramp, so that's what we're going to do. You know, obviously not what they intended it for, but still looks awesome. So we can get those on there. Everything else going to go together. Do a little bit of weathering, not too much. I like the paint as it is. First, we're going to get everything kind of agraxed and get some grime going on, and then we'll start gluing it all together and get these things done. But yeah, different ways of doing the paint, different effects, different outcomes, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I would say if I had to compare the two, depending on what I want to do, I would probably go with the Vallejo Xpress color to do a base coat over the Army Speed Paint. Save this for doing minis and whatnot. So let's get everything all together and see what happens next. Let's do it! And there we have it. Two 71 Plymouth GTX conversions using two different kinds of paints, both the speed-ish type of paint product, I guess you could say, the Vallejo versus the Army Speed Painter. Now, as far as comparing and contrasting goes, I would say that the Vallejo goes on a lot smoother, easier to control, the flow is better. Army Speed Paint, the colors and stuff still look great. I do like using the Army Speed Painter, but I think I'm going to keep it to just doing miniatures and probably not doing the base coating for my builds. But all in all, both of them turned out really great. Loving the armament on both of these. The new bits and pieces that I got from Fallout Hobbies are turning out really awesome. Gonna have to check out more of those. Had a great time doing both of these builds. If you enjoyed this video, you learned something, do me a favor and hit that like button. My goal is to do weekly videos, whether they're vehicle builds, terrain builds, battle reports, whatever. So if that's for you, hit the sub button below and ring the bell to get notified when new content drops. I do sell all my builds pretty inexpensively on my Etsy page, so if you want to pick something up, see what else I've done, You can even request a custom build. If you'd really like to show some love, head on over to my Patreon page and get signed up. Every bit helps keep the paint flowing, the printer printing, and the camera rolling. Until next time, keep your foot on the gas and your finger on the trigger. Gaslands NorCal, signing out.